Dear friends, you're watching the most important, in my opinion, updates on day 1147 of Russia's three-day war against Ukraine. Putin demands Ukraine's capitulation from the United States. Will Donald Trump ally with his Russian idol? A press conference with captured Chinese mercenaries took place in Kyiv. What did they say on camera? Let's talk about all this right now. Trump's envoy to Russia, Steve Witkoff, stated that during the recent meeting with the war criminals in Russia, they came up with the finalized idea of Russia's military victory over Ukraine, that for some reason Mr. Witkoff called a peace deal. He also said that this idea was developed as a result of a successful ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, which makes me think that Steve Witkoff most probably needs a really good fucking ophthalmologist, because there was no ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia at all. Only 2 days ago the Russian terrorists killed 35 people in Sumy with ballistic missiles, and last week they hit a bunch of children in Kryvyi Rih. The Russian missile and drone attacks happen every night, but Steve Witkoff apparently doesn't know. I asked myself, was it because Gopniks snatched his iPhone in the Russian subway, or because he was fucking blind? So I asked a specialist from the World Association of Ophthalmologists, and he told me, no, he's not blind, he's fucking brain dead. Let's talk a bit more about this finalized idea of Russian victory that Witkoff was so happy about. It involves Ukraine donating 5 regions to the Russian invaders, cancelling its intentions of joining NATO, and stopping repressions against Russian-speaking citizens of Ukraine, which most obviously means that President Zelensky has been repressing himself and half of his team since like 2019. But neither Witkoff nor Trump have even a slightest clue about it, because they are fucking stupid and they don't give a damn. They haven't even paid a visit to Ukraine once, and that, my friends, is very important. According to my observations, those who have visited Ukraine quickly changed their mind about it. For example, Pastor Mark Burns, known for being a good friend and mentor for Donald Trump, made a shocking discovery after visiting Ukraine, in particular that very place in Kryvyi Rih where the Russian terrorists murdered 20 Ukrainian civilians, including 9 children.
I was wrong. I now believe that supporting Ukraine is America first. And once you see the atrocities at the hands of the Russians, that is just pure evil.
Pastor Burns was a big supporter of cutting aid to Ukraine, but now he admits that he was wrong. Keith Kellogg too was among those who visited Ukraine and knows the real picture, and that is the reason he was removed from the American negotiating team, because he knew too much. According to media, Keith Kellogg and Marco Rubio at this point keep convincing Trump to increase pressure on Russia, but Trump prefers to listen to Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, brought some attractive commercial offers from Putin, according to Steve Witkoff himself. And that is something I talked about already last year. And while Witkoff came up with this amazing idea of dividing Ukraine, I've got even a better solution for Mr. Witkoff. He can divide his own ass and give one part to Russia and another part to North Korea. But unfortunately, he cannot divide Ukraine, neither can Trump or Putin, because it's not for them to decide. Captured Chinese mercenaries spoke to the Ukrainian journalists during a press conference held in Kyiv. According to the prisoners of war, Russian propaganda dominates Chinese media and social networks, spreading messages about the so-called Russian victories and showcasing military uniforms in online ads. One of the captured men, Zhang Renbo, said that initially he wanted a job in rehabilitation, but he was eventually recruited into the military instead. The second soldier, Wang Guanjun, claimed that he was misled about the nature of his contract. He was offered a job in construction instruction, but was later sent to the battlefield with little information about his duties or compensation. Both soldiers insist that they didn't kill any Ukrainian troops, claiming they were not stationed on the front line for long. They expressed a desire to return to China through a prisoner exchange. In my opinion, it's just another brilliant case of Russia using deception and disinformation to draw foreign nationals in its war against Ukraine, facing shortage of manpower to accomplish its task. Unfortunately, such cases will be happening, my friends, because the world is full of naive people who still consider the terrorist federation a legit place to live, study, or work. Also, Russia is really good at brainwashing. If you don't believe me, check out who's the current president of the United States and who are his most dedicated supporters. What can we do to stop the growing Russian disinformation in Europe? One thing we can definitely do is grow our own army of independent content creators and media. And if you feel like joining our ranks, please check out the link in the description. Join Freedom Forge School, son or daughter or whoever you are. It's a free school for content creators, which is not just about creating content. This is about waging the war against disinformation and bullshit. Learn the most recent life hacks from your favorite content creators and journalists and establish your very own platform, because you have right to be heard, and we will teach you how to make it happen. With that, my dear friends and family, I wish you all a beautiful day. I'll see you in the commentaries. My name is Operator Starsky, and as always, thanks for watching.